What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As we say every day, a huge thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to be here. It really does mean the world, and the support over on Patreon and clicking the YouTube join button has absolutely been phenomenal just recently, so thank you so much. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And today we're going to cover some stories that all have updates. So we're starting off with Colossal Scrubs with, would I be the arsehole if I wear a Halloween costume that makes my friend's partner uncomfortable? Hey Reddit peeps, I really need some help here. My 21 male boyfriend Alex, 23, absolutely loves Halloween. Our whole friend group loves the holiday. We make a point to have a Halloween party every year. We're sad that we can't have our usual party this year, but we're planning on having a little Halloween party thing on Zoom. So we'll still have an excuse to dress up and get drunk together. Anyway, our friend Sasha has been dating a guy, let's call him David, for about a year now. We don't have many complaints about David. He's pleasant enough to us, excluding a couple of slightly homophobic comments which he apologised for after he found out Alex and I were a couple, and most importantly, he makes Sasha happy. However, when we were talking about costumes on call the other day, things got a little weird. Our friend group consists of 5 girls and 3 guys. We're all pretty big American Horror Story fans, and the girls all decided that they were going to go as witches from Coven. Their costumes are absolutely stunning. Alex and I are planning on dressing as Michael Langdon or Mr. Gallant. Anyways, we asked David about his costume, and he told us that he actually planned for the 3 of us to go as Ross, Joey and Chandler from Friends. Now I love me some Friends, but Alex and I have already bought most of the pieces for our costumes, and we don't really want to change at this point. We told him as much and apologised. If he asked us earlier, we'd most likely agreed to this. He left the chat about 10 minutes later, but nothing really seemed off, until he texted me later in the day. He told me that he was uncomfortable with us going as Michael and Gallant, as they often get shipped together and are most likely fairies. David told us he was uncomfortable with us flaunting our sexuality at every chance we got. That was making him uncomfortable. We apparently ruined Harry Potter for him when we dressed up as Remus and Sirius last year. Anyway, David is still insistent on us changing our costume. We've also been accused of trying to isolate him as he isn't into American Horror Story. He can dress up as literally anything he wants. There are no rules. I really don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, and I don't want David to feel like he's unwelcome, but Alex and I were really excited about our costumes this year. I know this seems like a stupid thing to be worried about, but we don't want to cause trouble for Sasha, as she really likes David, and we don't want her getting caught in the middle of some stupid argument over a goddamn Halloween costume. I'd feel awful if we're the reason that they started having problems in their relationship. Would I be the arsehole? I had to have a quick look up at those characters. Pretty cool. But yes, he made the comment of them being fairies, so yes, he's being homophobic, so you're definitely not the arsehole. Don't play into this game that he's playing right now. And I'm sorry, his costumes sound awful. His costume idea, like from Friends, Ross, Joey and Chandler. God, I couldn't think of a more boring costume in my opinion. It's just 3 guys in normal clothes. What the hell? And there was an edit to this post which said, okay, I did not expect to get this many replies. Thank you so much to everyone who commented and offered advice. I really appreciate it. Oh, and just quickly, AHS stands for American Horror Story. My stupid ass thought I'd already written that, sorry. I've seen a few people asking if Sasha knows about David's behaviour. She doesn't, well, didn't. Not long after they started dating, David made a few comments about being against gay marriage, and knowing full well that Alex and I hope to get married someday. Sasha blew up at him. She was disgusted that he'd think like that, and she almost left him after that incident. We felt awful for her, as she really did like David, and he kept making promises to her that it wouldn't happen again, and apologised profusely. Sasha made David apologise to us and asked Alex if we'd be okay speaking to him again, and believing it was a one-off occurrence, we said sure. He made Sasha really happy after all, and she'd never stay with him if we weren't comfortable being around him. We kept the homophobic jokes to ourselves, but told him that they were homophobic. To his credit, he did apologise, though it was most likely not sincere. We told Sasha about this whole situation about an hour ago and sent her screenshots of the conversation. She was disgusted, and we heard a good 5 minutes of their argument before Sasha apologised and told us she'd call us when she dealt with him. We've had a text from Sasha apologising for all this, but it's not her fault. Now, as I said at the start, we are covering stories that all have updates, so we're going to go straight to the update post. I was going to post this a few days ago, but my professor decided to dump about 1 million projects on us at once, so I had to wait a little bit. Alex and I took the advice of you lovely people and talked to Sasha about David's behaviour. We even sent her some screenshots. She went absolutely apeshit at him. Long story short, she broke up with him. This is where the story should end, but David is apparently a petty asshole. We did originally only plan to have a small Zoom call party with a couple of friends, but some mutual friends and people from some of our classes, and asked if they could join. About 15 people all in. We're okay with this and decided just to have a larger Zoom party with them for a little bit, then leave and have a call with just our small, close-knit friend group. People we don't mind getting completely trashed with. We informed everyone of this and everything was going great. Until it wasn't. David is roommates with a mutual friend, Ryan, and is friends with people in our mutual friend group, so he decided he's going to join in with the festivities, knowingly making Sasha very uncomfortable. He made a few passing comments about how he left Sasha because she's a homophobic slur hag and kept asking her if they could call in private. He got shut down pretty quickly. Ryan is not one for that kind of drama, so he told David to get a grip. It made the whole thing pretty awkward, to say the least. About an hour or so into this mess, Ryan shuts off his camera and mutes his mic. He and David were using the same computer. After yet another comment from David, when he turned the camera and mic back on, David was sulking beside him, just generally looking like a scolded child. Alex and I decided to mess around with him. Yes, it was petty. No, we do not regret it. We started dropping in some American Horror Story lines whenever we could, e.g., "So, you like leather?" I like a lot of things. Any sort of suggested dialogue we could think of between Michael and Gallant. Not a massive amount to work with, but you know. We could see David practically biting his tongue to not say anything. Eventually, after a whipped comment from Alex, he left. Ryan just shook his head and laughed it off. Everyone else found it pretty amusing and myself and Alex were pretty pleased with ourselves. The rest of the night was a hell of a lot better. David actually tried to contact Sasha a few days ago, but Sasha's dad was pretty quick to intervene. He's a big guy, I wouldn't want to piss him off. Long story short, David is out of all of our lives now and Sasha is looking a lot happier. I know this probably isn't an update that anyone wants, but I wanted to post it anyways. Now, I think it's a good outcome in the end, right? As long as Sasha's happy in the end. And, you know, that guy is just a piece of shit, really, isn't he? He's a homophobic guy. So, yeah, he's got to go. The end of, which happened, which is fantastic. But what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Shannon. Would I be the arsehole for confronting my dad about shady bank account activity? So my parents got divorced a couple of years back. My dad has been pretty involved with prostitutes and blew thousands of dollars of family money on this habit. The divorce started out pretty amicable, but when my dad started to realise he was going to lose a lot of his money, he wanted to cut my brother and I off of his health insurance plan, take away college money, etc. I was 21 at the time and my brother 19. My dad was also pretty intensely cyberstalking and physically stalking my mum once she had started to move on. He put a tracker on her car, a keylogger on her computer, all these things. We changed all of her passwords and then the next day she was locked out of her accounts because my dad had changed them all back. It took lawyers getting involved because of this harassment to get insurance details righted, college money restored and get reparations back to my mum for all of the prostitute money he used. I contemplated cutting him out of my life back then, but I just felt terribly guilty about all of it, even though my brother cut off communications. Fast forward to now, and my dad and I have somewhat of a relationship. It's improved a lot since the divorce years, even though I've caught him in a lot of lies/shady behaviour still. However, I recently got married back in May, and my husband and I found out we're expecting a baby due in April. We've been working towards merging our finances, but I get this notification from my bank that the contact phone number on my account had just been changed to my dad's phone number. I just feel so sick. I know he was the one who put that number on my account, which means he's probably yet again doing something shady to access my account. I told my brother about it and he's livid and ready to confront my dad, and I think I am too. I called my bank account about the phone number change, and while they don't give me the IP address the change was made from, they can confirm it was done for a verified login, and it was not myself or my husband. So would I be the arsehole for confronting my dad and possibly cutting off contact? I'm so sick of being locked out of accounts, having my private information screwed with, and at this point, I don't want my future child/family having to deal with all this harassment and stalking. Hell no. Cut off contact immediately. What is he playing at, man? Who needs enemies when you got like family like that in your life, man? Then the update to this post says, so I got a lot of great advice from the sub and I wanted to thank everyone who took the time to respond. I ended up taking my computer into Geek Squad and they did find a keylogger in it. They removed the keylogger and I spent some time picking a few files that I felt was safe to save and wiped my hard drive. I'm set up now with a new bank account that has fake security question answers that are written down on a piece of paper and filed away. Now that my hard drive is wiped, I've also changed passwords on every account and set up two-factor authentication on every account where that is possible. Many of you advise against having a conversation with my father, but my brother and I ultimately decided that for the sake of our closure. It was something that we needed. He of course denied everything, and while the conversation was frustrating to say the least, it also gave me the permission I needed to let go of him and go no contact. We've contacted the authorities about their bank account change and are in the process of opening an investigation. We made that clear to my father in the conversation as well, to hopefully dissuade any further intrusion attempts. My hard drive is clean, I've blocked his email address and phone number and deleted all old emails that could contain downloadable files and malware. This is going to be a long road and feeling like we're safe, but I think I'm finally heading in the right direction. Thanks again for everyone who commented on the original post, all the advice was so helpful. So is that sort of counted as fraud or anything like that? I don't know, him trying to get in, does that still count as like a fraud or something like that? Will the bank tell the police about it and will the father get in trouble from the police? Because he bloody should do for that kind of behaviour, right? Let me know what you guys think of the situation and have you ever been in a similar position before? Like you had your bank account hacked or anything hacked on, well, I say hacked. I'm doing air quotes when I'm saying hacked. You know why. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And our next story is from Am I the Arsehole Naked Twin? Am I the arsehole for kicking out my identical twin for selling nudes online? Basically what the title says. To give some backstory, my sister 23 female and I 23 female were kicked out by our parents at the age of 18. We've been living in an apartment together with a roommate ever since. My sister doesn't have a steady job at the moment, so I've been handling her portion of the rent of the apartment. A few weeks ago she approached me and told me that she found a source of income and would likely be able to start paying for rent soon. I didn't ask too many questions when she told me this because I was just happy that she finally found a job. However, I was talking to our roommate 2 nights ago and found out that my sister started an OnlyFans account and has been selling naked pictures / videos of herself. Now I am very sex positive and forward thinking. I have nothing against sex workers, but she is my identical twin. We look exactly alike in almost every way. I personally do not feel comfortable sharing my body online to strangers, and on top of that, I'm trying to start a professional career for myself and I don't want employers / co-workers to find this and think that is me. I confronted my sister when she got home later that night and told her that I will not be speaking to her until she deletes the account and that she would have to move out of the apartment. She was pretty mad about this and stormed out of the apartment and ended up sleeping at a mutual friend's house for the last 2 nights. I talked to our roommate and some friends about this and they think I overreacted. Am I the arsehole here? Now this is a tough one. This is a tough one because, you know, it should be your body, your choice. But when your body looks exactly the same as someone else's and it could damage their professional career, where do you go with that? I would probably say that you are the arsehole in this situation because, you know, it is her body and her choice. And I think you need to make clear to any professional company that you do have a twin and they're in that field. I think I would go with it honestly and just say that. I think that's the only way you can really approach it. Unless you guys can think of a different way. But we have an update that says, hey y'all, so a while back I made a post about how my twin sister started an OnlyFans and I was considering kicking her out of the apartment. In that post it was determined that I was the arsehole. A lot has happened since then, so I decided to make an update. After reading your comments I decided that I probably took it too far, and although I was embarrassed and felt violated, at the end of the day it is her body and not mine. Just because we look the same does not mean I get to have a say, nor should it affect our relationship. So I called her and told her I wanted to talk and we had a really long emotional discussion, and I obviously decided not to kick her out as long as she was able to cover her rent going forward. Then COVID happened, and as of June I no longer have a job. I was one of the newest people at the company I was working for, and so I was the first to go. And in a turn of events, my sister has been killing it in OnlyFans, is now covering my portion of the rent until I'm able to get back on my feet. So thank you for your advice. I might have ruined my relationship with my sister and maybe even homeless without it. Wow, what a turnaround. I thought she was going to say that at the end, like, we're both doing OnlyFans now. Doubling that bank. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? Oh, it's a strange one at the first. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I think it all worked out pretty good in the end. Apart from losing her job, let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for kicking a friend out of my house for what she said? Disclaimer, I'm on mobile and this is a throwaway for privacy reasons. Earlier today I had 2 friends over to watch a game and catch up as social distancing rules eased up a bit in my area. We're all women in our early 30s. One friend, let's call her A, has had a very tough couple of years. She lost her husband last year, he was on deployment when he passed away, and tragedy struck again when a 6-year-old son passed away from cancer a few months ago. Needless to say, she was and still is devastated, and this was the first time she felt like hanging out since the loss of her son. My other friend, let's call her B, is very traditional and religious, while friend A and myself are not religious at all. But our differing views have never been an issue, we've gotten along just fine with friend B since we met her 4 to 5 years ago. Friend B has brought up what she believes are the benefits of religion to us a few times in the past, but always dropped the subject when we weren't responsive to it. Neither friend A or I ever held any ill feelings towards her about this, as she wasn't too pushy with her beliefs. On to the situation that took place today. We were listening to friend A pour her heart out and doing our best to console her, while being a shoulder to cry on. Friend A through tears said, "I don't know what I did wrong in my life to deserve to lose her husband and son." Instantly, friend B exclaimed, "Well, I can tell you that. You didn't allow God and the Bible into your life, so God punished you for it. Can you blame him?" Friend A just looked in awe. I lost it. I yelled at her that what she said was totally uncalled for and unbelievably hurtful. Then I got up, opened the front door and told her to get the hell out of my house and never contact me again. She tried to backtrack and say that she wasn't trying to be hurtful, but I wasn't having any of it. I yelled again, "Just get out of my house right now. Don't make me throw you out like a piece of trash." She huffed and left. Friend A was bawling at this point, but said thank you. We continued talking and she calmed down after a while. Looking back now, I realised I could have possibly handled the situation better. Both friend A and I never thought friend B would say something like that. Maybe I overreacted. I don't know. Am I the arsehole? Edits. I didn't expect this to take off as much as it did, and I really appreciate all the comments, messages and awards. I want to clarify where I think I may have overreacted. I always thought of myself as tolerant and as a person who respects other people's views and beliefs, no matter how extreme. This situation made me react in a way that, in my mind, didn't make me a tolerant person because I threw someone out of my house for saying something I thought was out of line, but it was still part of their belief system. This is the reason I wanted opinions from the fellow Redditors, as I obviously can't be unbiased here. Thank you for all your input. Wow. Who does that? It always shocks me how people can turn around and just say it. I can tell you why. I can tell you why you lost your husband and son. Because you didn't let God into your life. Oh my word. And then one comment from Jake Fortune who said, "Not the arsehole. I mean, you could have handled the situation better, but you probably aren't big enough to physically grab B by the collar and belt and throw her 10 feet into the front yard like cartoons." And that's all I can picture myself doing. Oh my god. How would you react if someone acted that way in front of you? Wow. Then the update to this says, it's been a few weeks since the situation happened, so I'll start off by saying that my ex, friend B, did not apologise to friend A for what she said. Matter of fact, she hasn't reached out to either one of us since then. We also didn't reach out to her. Unfortunately, B's words from that day really got to friend A. She struggled with survivor's guilt and questioned her upbringing / lifestyle, views on religion, etc. She doubled her therapy sessions and I spent my free time keeping her company. A couple of weeks ago, I went over to her place and found her reading the Bible and, almost obsessively, flagging pages. She said she was researching to check if what B told her was true. She started reading excerpts and telling me her interpretations. This behaviour did scare me a bit, so I suggested she bring this up with her therapist. It was the only thing I could think of to help and calm her down. She did talk to her therapist, who suggested she talk to a pastor instead of trying to come up with her own conclusions. She asked me to go with her, which I did, but told me to just wait for her at the church while she talked to the pastor privately. After she said that she felt better and was more convinced that B was full of it, she also seemed calmer, so I believe that conversation did help her. I was at her house on Friday and she told me that she still thinks about what was said, and although she feels much better after talking to the pastor, he's only one person and what if he was wrong? I tried to reassure her again and talk through her feelings, but I could tell it was eating at her. I had a feeling she might spiral again, then I had an idea. I told her about the post I made on here and explained why, how it works, etc. She's not a Reddit user. I pulled up my original post and asked her to read the comments to show her hundreds of people, religious and non-religious, felt about what was said. We spent the evening reading each comment. She cried, she laughed, she was surprised and overwhelmed at the amount of support and reassuring words from all these strangers. Whew, tears. I could tell she was more and more relieved as we read. She has been in a much better state of mind since then, so seeing hundreds of people disagree with B's words definitely had a positive impact on her. So dear Redditors, thank you from the bottom of my heart, helping my friend with your kind words and reassurance. She has a long road ahead of her in this grieving process, but she's going strong. Oh, and I'm sort of glad it was scaring me about the whole religion thing in the middle. Not that there's anything wrong with religion at all, but because of someone's comment, someone's getting obsessive over it and thinking that they've done wrong in their life because of what someone said. But in the original post, how would you have dealt with that friend if they said that to another one of your friends? Like, they just lost 2 people in their lives, and the other friend turns around and says, God is basically punishing you for it. Let me know how you would deal with that in the comments below. Once again, guys, I hope you did enjoy these posts with updates, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. It is always truly appreciated. Thank you, Waffle Gang, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.